Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, and everybody in between.
It is Thursday, and it should be about something.
I'm Jim Libby.
And I'm Michael Smolik.
And tonight is the night. Hold on.
Yay! We're 40.
Yay.
40 concurrent consecutive shows of Isbaz. You're not going to wear the hat for the whole show?
Oh, I suppose I could. Ridiculous.
This is gonna make great still shots.
Got a balloon and everything. So, we're back. It's Thursday. It's 8:30. It should be about something, and we're super excited. How was your week, Michael?
It's been one of those weeks again where I can't actually remember. There was stuff going on.
Yeah.
None of it was exceptional.
Yeah.
It was kind of plowing through stuff. So I guess it was okay.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm here to tell the story, but there's not much story to tell.
I live to tell the tale.
But the tale was very short.
Very short.
And there was not much to the tale. There was not much to tell. Arr, I will live to tell another tale another day.
Let's get the chat opened up here so that we can see everybody. Whoa, Marcus in the house, Kathy in the house, Pavlov's dog, Philly girl, Christina La Smulik, hello, Moko, everybody in the house. I had a good week.
Yeah.
I also
was there something exceptional that you can tell about this week?
Yes.
You can't tell it on air.
I can tell it on air. I can tell it on air. I had a really nice experience.
Best kind of exceptional, actually.
I had a really exceptional, excellent experience. All the X's. I had a really nice voiceover recently, because we talked about voiceovers last week.
We did, last week.
And it was a voiceover for a documentary, which is really nice to do. And it was a beautifully shot piece of film about fly fishing and fisheries management in Slovenia.
Cool.
And it was really nice. And I did it at this great sound studio. More music. Big shout out to Verena and Erich. A beautiful location, super easy to work with. And it was crazy because...
Where's this going to air?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, when we do know, we'll try and plug it.
We'll try to let everybody know. But it was really crazy because the director, the guy who shot the movie, he was actually in Slovenia, and the editor and his partner in crime was in Sweden.
But you were talking to them on a Zoom call or
Yeah. So they were on a clean feed kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Well, it's the way we're doing those jobs these days.
Yeah.
Like I had a voiceover today as well, and the director is sat in Germany.
Yeah. And it was wild. It used to be, I did a gig years ago in Cologne where there was a company in Vienna and they wanted me to do the voiceover, but I was on tour. And so we found a studio in Cologne and they had to set up the ISDN line, and it was great. I mean, it was like you're in the same room, but it was a big thing. I mean, there was phone calls and messages and stuff.
These days it's like, we could do that here without cheap tech.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In fact, I've actually done that. Like during the pandemic, I've done recordings here while connected to a studio.
Yeah.
And connected with that studio via that studio to a director or an agency, whatever, and connect.
Well,
it's nuts.
It's a modern world, and
yes,
I'm glad we live in it. So cheers to
that. The
modern
world features these rubbishing paper hats with These always itch and tickle. I hate that about them.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try and wear it for the whole show.
Okay.
Okay, so
Let's
Slurpy
do it.
Slurps.
Slurpy Slurps.
Happy 40th,
Happy
Jim.
40th. Everybody out there in Isbaz land, take a drink.
Yeah.
Slurp, slurp. So, we have that going for us. And as you all know, and if you are joining us for the first time, you may not know, so I'm going to tell it to y'alls anyway. It Should Be About Something comes to you in 3 parts. And this is now Chapter 1. Such a good segue.
Yeah, and it works really well.
Yeah. I love it when we
I
talk
wanted
to
it
each
out
other
of the-
about it.
I wanted
Hey,
it out of the picture.
yeah, out of the picture. You put it
That-
behind the
that's
thing.
Hide
Hide it behind the balloon. Nobody will know it's there. Hey, everybody. It's Chapter 1 on public transportation. So,
So I think we all know what public transportation is.
yes.
Why don't you guys give us your take on public transport? Like,
I have a specific question.
Yeah.
You ready for this? Okay, here's our question to the chat. What is the weirdest, biggest, strangest, most out of the normal thing you have ever tried to transport on public transportation?
Yeah. And my question is, what is your most remarkable experience that you've had on public transport?
Love it. So, what's the weirdest, biggest, most unnormal thing you've tried to transport on public transportation, and what is your most, what was it?
Your most exceptional experience
Exceptional experience.
on
All the
public
X's.
transport. It smells weird. The inside of this hat smells like a rubber balloon. You know, like a bag of balloons, or the way that balloons taste.
It smells like balloons taste. Yeah.
But this is kind of good.
All right. Here we go. So, Michael, public transportation, yay or nay?
Oh, definitely yay.
Definitely
I'm a
yay.
big friend of public transportation.
Agreed?
Especially because where I grew up, there was, and there still is, virtually no public transport to speak of. Certainly not the kind of public transport that we're so used to having in Europe. And it was it's basically non-existent.
But
so
okay,
I'm very grateful.
So, for example, where I grew up, public transportation was non-existent because it was in the middle of nowhere. It was, in the woods. It was near the ocean.
Oh, I see. Right.
It was very,
But could you take a bus?
No. The only bus I ever took as a child was the school bus. That was public transportation.
Right.
For public school.
Yeah, I guess that No, it doesn't actually count as public transportation.
No, it
doesn't. Like we had a school bus as well, but I rarely took that because I hated the school bus because I was at the beginning of the route. So I had to get up really early if I wanted to take the school bus and then spend an hour while it went around collecting everybody. So
right.
I always took the city bus. But, at least there were city buses. I grew up in Johannesburg, right? But they didn't really connect. It's like you could never take a bus and connect to get somewhere.
Yeah, okay.
They all went out in spokes. Like from a center hub, they went out one way and they came back exactly the same way. So if you wanted to get to the other side of town, or you wanted to get to a neighborhood that was next door to yours, you had to go into town first and come all the way back out again. It's completely ridiculous. There was nothing going around. There was nothing connecting. Like, you could never connect. You could only take the bus into town.
Right.
A completely failed idea.
Yeah, and that was in
Johannesburg.
In Johannesburg. I saw
Which is a
thing,
metropolis.
Yeah, I know. I saw a thing not too long ago, though, about South Africa and its public transportation system. I think maybe it was a Vox thing.
Yeah.
One of those 10-minute mini documentaries, and about how that was by design because of where the whites were living and where the blacks were living, and where the blacks were forced to live, and so that you had.
I guess there's
the infrastructure was influenced by where people wanted to live. Was the thrust of it.
I guess so. But I mean, the crazy thing about where I lived in Johannesburg was that we had tube transportation services. So
Yeah.
there was bus stops for white people, and there were bus stops for black people,
Yeah.
and they were like 20 meters from each other,
That's
or
crazy.
50 meters from each other, and you couldn't get on the bus for black people.
Right.
I tried to actually, because they were more regular than the buses for white people, because white people drove.
Yeah, of course.
But I was not allowed to get on them. I think one time a bus driver let me on. I said, like, I just convinced him, like, I don't care, you know, and he let me ride. But basically, it was against the law to
Right.
take the buses for black people, right?
Amazing.
So a complete waste of infrastructure, and it was
Absolutely.
even 2 bus services. But they were both crap because they never connected anything with each other. They just went
Yeah.
into town
Yeah.
and out of town, right? Absolutely ridiculous. And even like traveling from Johannesburg to Cape Town or something like that is still something that is crazy to do
Yeah.
by public transport. Like most people fly. It's also cheaper to fly.
Well, I'm really glad that we live in Vienna, whose public transportation is amazing.
I think Vienna's public transportation is like one of the best in Europe, if not the best that I know in Europe.
It really is extraordinarily good. And I remember one time I had a friend from the States, from New York, visiting, Robin, and she was all like, "This is crazy. Every time we step up, the car's come. You know, the train is coming.
It's like
you know?
it's every 3 minutes. Yeah.
And you know, in Vienna, if you get there and it says you're waiting for 4 minutes,
Yeah.
you're like, oh man,
Yeah.
seriously, serious? Oh, come on,
Yeah, yeah.
4 minutes.
And in other places, if you've got half an hour's wait, that's soon.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think the public transportation in different countries, I don't like to talk about it in America because it's, for me, my experience, it was basically non-existent. There was some public transportation in Portland, in Maine, where I grew up. There was a bus system that was terrible, but I had a job where I was shilling for it in the costume.
Okay.
Hop on the metro.
Right.
And in Boston, the public transportation was better, but not great. I mean, the T is not terrific. But Vienna is amazing. Italy, I remember being super weird. One time being on a bus in Italy, and we must have been somewhere near Genoa.
It's like out in the country, right?
Well, like in Genoa, like on the coast.
Yeah.
And to get from wherever we were to where this hostel was, and it was sort of like a super up-class hostel where you had your own room, and it wasn't quite a hotel, and it was up on a mountain. Beautiful. My buddy Ken and I were traveling, and we get onto this bus. It is, first of all, packed like sardines.
Like full of students?
Full of just Italians,
Everybody. Okay,
They're all packed in, and this driver, it was like he was Keanu Reeves in Speed. He is just barreling through not only the traffic, but then we break through the traffic and get just outside of the city to the street that's winding up this mountain up to this thing. And he is hell-bent for leather, and you know, it's like that Italian coast kind of thing where you look down and suddenly there's nothing between you and the ground except for 2,000 meters worth of air.
Yeah.
Jesus.
The bus actually goes off the side of the...
Yeah, and we're all, and it was good that we're all, you know, packed, because then we could all kind of push over to the other side. And I was just like, man, people do this.
So you were actually...
I was fearing for my life, and the grandma standing, you know, next to me with her hand here like this, and reading the newspaper, you know, just like, it's Mamma mia, huppity, la la ba dee,
Okay, so I actually agree with you, Moko, that there's big differences between lots of places in other countries. Like Italy is not the best place for public transport. No. Like even the train system in Italy is no great shakes. It's like if you take the train from Germany to Italy, it basically stops On the other side, it goes through Tyrol, and on the other side of the Brenner, it stops and they change locomotives.
Right.
And then everything just takes 3 times longer.
Yeah, because it's Italy.
I was working in Bolzano one season, and
I love that little town.
it's a great
at that theater.
It's a great town, yeah.
I've got a great
What theater? I was at the. I don't think it was the same theater that you worked at.
because there's 2 Bolzanos. There's the big one and the small one. The big one.
You mean the theaters?
No, towns.
Oh, town. That was in the big Bolzano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And Valerie,
Yeah.
her family,
Yeah.
Bolzano, is from the little one. She's
Okay.
a von Bolzano from
Yeah.
the little one, but not the big one. But I was in the big one.
It's like you're talking about 2 nipples, and they're not.
Yeah.
They're not the same.
Never going to be the same height. Never going to be the same height.
But regularly, like I'd go to the station to take the train home, and it would be like half an hour late, 45 minutes
Yeah.
late. But this was just normal. Everybody just reckoned with it.
What I do love about Italy's public transportation, and something that I think Pavlov's dog was talking about, that she was going on a ferry
Yeah.
in Berlin, so over the Spree. In Venice, I love taking.
Oh, those vaporettos.
It's so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And one
great.
time, Bronwyn and I were doing a reading.
Actually, the public transport in Venice isn't bad
Yeah.
for like Italian cities. That's actually pretty good.
And it was super cool. And Bronny and I had gone to Italy to do this reading, and it was in Florence. And there's a very long story about how we got to Venice. But we get to Venice, and Bronny, as you know, is often very much a worrywart. And we had a very young Zach with us at the time. And she was just going crazy, and Zach was just, picking up on all the stuff. And so we had like a bunch of hours to kill. And so I kept taking them onto the vaporettos, and every time we would go under a bridge, I told Zachary, I said, in Italy, here, if you go under a bridge, you have to kiss somebody that you love, and that will get you, luck and love for the rest of your life. And he was just like, oh my God, okay. And so every time we went under a bridge, he would go over and hug his mom and give her a kiss, and it calmed everybody down to be so that we could get to the train and then get home. It was a crazy time, but those things are awesome.
Yeah. I like them. And those guys, they're kind of like hell-bent for leather as well sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
You're coming in on that boat, just going whoosh, and all this water rushes past you as he puts
So
it
good.
in reverse as he
So
pulls up
good.
to the bus stop. Yeah.
So
Nice.
good. I used to have to take a ferry to a job that I had when I worked in Portland, because I worked at a restaurant on
We
an
took
island.
those ferries in Göteborg 2 years
Those
ago.
ferries
to get
were
to the,
awesome.
To the theater. That was like every 15 minutes that ferry would come around and pick you up just like a regular bus.
That was a good public transportation thing.
Yeah. Like when I was in Canada, in Vancouver, they have a lot of ferries as well,
Yeah.
because you've got to go out to the islands, and they're pretty regular as well. It's like and Greece, you want to go anywhere, you have to get on a ferry, right? Have you been on one of those high-speed ferries?
I haven't.
The hydrofoil ferries in Greece.
I haven't.
That's
no.
quite an experience.
Those
actually.
are cool.
I think.
I always wanted to try
I
one.
think we were doing 120 kilometers an hour on water.
So good.
That's nuts.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
In Zurich, there's the funicular that goes into the building, and it takes you from down, like when you get to in Zurich, when you get to the train station, and you come up and you kind of walk towards the Starbucks, like towards where the old city is.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
On the left-hand side, there's this building, and if you go into there, there's a funicular that takes you up to like where the university is. It's really cool.
Den Haag has this area in the center of town where they've got all these modern buildings, and the metro goes through one of the buildings. There's a hole in the building, and the metro goes straight through the building. It's like one of those glass buildings.
That's so cool.
Pretty cool.
Okay, I am trying to think of the biggest thing I've ever taken on public transportation. And I think it has to have been a Christmas tree. But I'm making that up.
Sounds possible. Like I can imagine that.
I can imagine that, but I don't know if it's true.
Like I have something that I think I'm going to take on public transport.
What's that?
And I think you're going to help me with it.
Oh,
It
sounds like I'm definitely going to help him with that.
It's been in storage for 2 years. It's one of those pictures that Dennis painted in that show that Joanna did.
Yeah, this was an amazing show.
Called
Red.
Yeah.
It was called Red. It was really good.
The painter
Rothko.
That's right. And Dennis was painting these big 3 by 2 meter paintings, and I bought
In the style of Rothko,
in the style of Rothko,
colored
right?
blocks.
Because he was playing the painter, and I bought one of them, and it's still in storage down on the Gürtel because I don't have a vehicle big enough to transport it, and I keep waiting for. So there's several things that need to go inside. I need to remember to go and pick it up.
Right.
It needs to be a day that's not windy,
Right.
and it needs to be a day that's not rainy, and it needs to be a time of day when the public transport is not full of people. Right? And I can finally go and fetch this thing.
We're going to go at 11:39 on a Sunday.
And it has to be good weather.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Good weather.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But I don't know. I've transported a lot of stuff, like going to concerts with 3 guitars and an amplifier and shit like that. I've done that. I've stopped doing that. It's bad for your knees.
Yeah.
Bad for your knees, bad for your back.
I think I have a very.
You lose things. Like the amount of microphone stands and like the fifth wheel in your collection of stuff. You know you've got 2 guitars and an amplifier and a pedal board, right? And you've got your microphone stand somewhere, and then you put it in the corner, and you get out. And I got all 4 of my things. And you get to the fucking gig, and you don't have the microphone stand because it's riding public transport
Somewhere in Hütteldorf.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering a leather jacket I used to have.
Yeah. I remember a hat.
So many hats.
That I bought in
so many pairs of ears.
Portugal.
So many.
Family members, pets.
Oh God.
Did you ever get left behind on public transport?
Oh hell yes.
By whom?
Like being like in a group of people and they all get off and you missed it. Oh yeah, absolutely. Festivals all the time. Or I remember one time. Was it in Göteborg where we all of a sudden there was like 80 people all packed into this bus, and I had one of those speakers, and we there was these other dudes who we started playing music, and
on that. Yeah.
Maybe that was in Spain. I don't know. And we're all on this tram, and there's like 80 people on this tram with 3 people with these speakers, and we're all playing the same song at slightly different times, and everybody's dancing in this thing. And there's like maybe 3 people just trying to get home, but everybody else is dancing.
Nuts.
Hey, Verena's in the house saying happy anniversary. Thank you very much. Everybody, wave to Verena. Verena, wave to the screen.
So,
Father of Clay in the house. Hey, buddy.
So okay, more drinky poos.
More drinky poos.
Follower of Clay's in the house. So
right.
We need to drink. Yes, it's our 40th. Whose idea was this? I think wasn't this your idea? Wearing party hats. Philly Girl says it took her longer for public transport to the airport from Philly Airport to city centre than it did for the person who had to sea fly. It took longer to get to the airport than for that person to fly to Boston.
So she takes somebody from Philly City Center to the airport so that person can fly to Boston. That person gets home faster in Boston than she does getting back home into
Philadelphia. That's
America.
Public transport in a nutshell.
That is America.
Yeah, but damn, I've been at like one of the longest bus rides I've taken was a bus ride at Frankfurt Airport.
Yeah.
I was on some cheap flight, and they made us park like out in the boondocks.
Yeah.
And I was like, kind of in a hurry, how long is this going to... They put us on a bus, and the bus... This is how big Frankfurt Airport was, right? The bus drove for like half an hour until we got to the terminal building, and I was like, the fuck? Where do we park this fucking bird? Jesus.
Cheers. Jacob Bannigan in the house.
Hey, Jacob. Drinky boos. Slurpy slurps.
Slurpy slurps. Muchado.
Hydrofoil from Hong Kong to Macau. That sounds fun. Do they serve that like Chinese takeaway food on that Hydrofoil,
It's all Chinese food.
No, but they have those portable stands with like cook up food for you. I want to get like fried rice, fresh fried rice on the.
But a hydrofoil is so cool because it's a hydrofoil. I mean, it looks so space agey. It looks so modern. I want to
do this.
Kathy Tanner, she's got another date. She's standing us up for some other date. Love it. All right, Kathy.
Yeah.
Do it, baby. Ah, la, 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 la.
Joy.
La, la. So the biggest load, 2 kids, 3 suitcases, 1 stroller, 3 bags of disposable diapers, the station, no platform, 1 minute to run across 3 tracks, and we made it.
Yeah.
That is a big load.
Dang. I'm with you on that. I've had a very similar experience, like with my family, right? We're going skiing, and we get to Westbahnhof, and I think we're going to Salzburg. And we've got 2 weeks worth of luggage with us. All of our ski equipment. So we weren't renting ski equipment. We had our own skis. So it's skis, boots, the whole shebang. And we get there and we're late, and we're on the wrong platform. And we're like, where the fuck is this train? Well, the train's probably going to roll in, it's coming from somewhere else. And then we realize the train's on the platform opposite, and it's already moving.
Did you do the whole Darjeeling Limited thing?
This was in the 80s when the doors, didn't lock automatically. So we're running off the platform, crossing
the tracks,
opening the door, throwing our stuff into the back of the train, and we get on board.
Public transportation is a huge thing. What we didn't talk about at all is Schwarzfahren.
Oh yes.
So riding illegally.
Have you done that?
I have done it many, many times in my life.
And how many times have you been caught?
Oh, I've been caught not nearly as many times as I've done it. I've gotten out of it a few times. One of my favorites was one of the first times.
You managed to wangle your way out of it?
Yeah, it was great. So we'd just gotten into Prague, and it was super early in the morning. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't even know they had a 5 o'clock in the morning. And we were tired. We'd been traveling through the night. We get there and we get to one of those huge escalators in Prague. It's like the world's largest escalators. And you get to the top of it, and these 2 old dudes were like trying to sell old DDR Soviet stuff. And we were just like, no, thank you. God, no. And we keep on going. And then I get a tap on my shoulder. And there's this person behind me, and they're laughing, and I'm like, sorry? And they're like, those guys, they weren't trying to sell you old Soviet stuff. They were
selling you tickets?
They were checking your tickets and showing you their badges. And you just kept on going. It was amazing. They were just laughing. They were like, I just had to say that was awesome. And
you thought they were trying to sell you like memorabilia and medals and stuff? Oh my God! Right.
Because they were.
They must have looked very scruffy.
They were, because like in Vienna, they're all undercover.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like back in the day in Germany, for example, like in Berlin, in the late 90s, I remember you would come into the station, and then just before the train would go away, suddenly the platform would materialize, and there would be 6 officers. In uniform.
Yeah.
There would be 3 dogs. They were serious about it, and then they would come in, check everybody, and then at the next station they would get out.
Yeah, but they're German, you see.
It was amazing. It was crazy.
But they're good at doing that kind of thing. If you want, like, what's that? Do you know that book by the guy who plays Dr. House?
Oh yeah. Dingsbones. Yeah.
He's got a detective series that he's written.
Okay.
And there's one passage in there where he gets into MI5 because he's looking for some data or something like that. And he says it's the easiest thing in the world to walk into MI5. You just walk in like you know what you're doing. You walk in, good evening, and hello, Lieutenant, whatever, and you kind of walk in, and they're like, and he's like, if you want something guarded properly, you need to get the Germans to do it, because they're really good at doing that kind of thing.
The Germans are really good at it. The Israelis are really good at it.
Oh, Jesus. No, I wouldn't.
They're really good at
it.
it.
The Israelis are really good
And
at
so
it.
in Austria, it's super easy because it's kind of baked into the system. You know, there are these little gray areas in life that I think society absolutely needs. There's got to be some wiggle room in places, and the little cracks that you can fall between to have a chance outside of the regimentation. Yeah. And Vienna is a blessing and a curse with that, because you can. You can ride black, as they say.
Yeah.
You can ride illegally.
I did it for a while. I think I did it for a whole year to see whether it was cheaper to do that than buy a ticket.
The Gun Seller by Hugh Laurie?
Yeah, that's. I was just going to get to Pavlov about that.
Sorry.
Yes, that is the book I was talking about. And it turns out it was the same price. It was cheaper to not buy the tickets, but it was fractional. So it was like...
Yeah, if you got caught once a month, then
it's too much. No, I didn't, no.
Yeah, or whatever it was. Like you could figure out, everyone had their...
If you got caught 4 times in a year, then it wasn't worth it.
Right.
And I think I only got caught 3 times, but I had to get off trains and run a couple of times, which meant I got to my appointments late.
Right.
So it was a total pain in the ass, and you had to keep watching, like, are they getting on? Are they not getting you to get off? And
you had to keep looking over your shoulder.
So it was just.
You were a wanted man.
It was a strain on my nerves, so I decided to pay.
You couldn't handle the pressure.
Yeah, I couldn't handle the pressure.
The kitchen was too hot. You had to get out, didn't you?
I'm going to smack you if you come up with another metaphor. I'm going to smack you really hard. I'm going to smack you so hard, I'm going to get someone else to smack you. It's going to really hurt. Oh.
I remember coming home late one night. It was 8:30 in the morning. I was super tired, fairly drunken still. Mm-hmm. The morning going to work crowd had surrounded me and kind of, given me a wide berth. And just as
you smelled bad too.
No, I don't know, but yeah, basically. And as we're pulling into my station where I'm getting out to go to my apartment, I get the tap on the shoulder, and the guy's like, tickets please. And I just looked at him and went, no, thank you. And at that moment, the doors opened. I walked away, and I just kept thinking to myself, "Don't turn around! Don't turn around! Don't turn around!"
You'll break the
magic.
The magic if you do, yeah.
And all I could imagine was like this Schaffner, and I like that Pavlov's dog letting us know that in Berlin they're called Controlettis, but here the Schaffner, the controller, the controller,
Schwarzkappler.
The Schwarzkappler. The Schwarzkappler. All I could imagine was him like looking past the door, and being like, yeah, forget it. Forget it. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's really not worth it. Well,
I got checked the other day by a lady, Schwarzkapplerin, in plain clothes, and she was the most unusual plain clothes that I've been checked by so far, because she really did look like
a Sandlerin.
A Sandlerin, yeah.
A Sandlerin.
Yeah, Sandlerin, yeah. I was quite surprised because she was standing there and all I could see was her shoes. And then suddenly there was this voice there, and I was, oh, wow, you're really in costume. Yeah, that's impressive. I would never have seen you.
What I really like is when people have seen the controllers, the Schwarzkappler, and then when they get out of the station and they say, Controle dabei, or Dankeschön,
right.
Dankeschön für die Aufmerksamkeit, dass ich...
But you know what I enjoy watching now that I always have a ticket, is somebody on the train realizing that
somebody's coming,
that
they're coming,
the Schwarzkappler's got on the train and they can't get out anymore.
Oh, they're coming, they're coming,
like digging in their pockets.
Oh, they're coming.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. It's got to be here somewhere.
And all the while moving closer to the door.
Yeah.
to get out at the next station.
Jeez, I'm on the phone. I gotta.
Yeah.
There's a thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's public transportation.
So public transport in Japan is something that I would definitely like to try. I've been on the high-speed trains in France. That was quite an experience. It was so cool that I fell asleep. There's like nothing to see,
yeah.
and it just floats on air, kind of thing.
I like that Marcus did the balance sheet. That when he could afford to pay when he could afford to pay the U-Bahn, he stopped. But you know, they make it really easy. In Vienna, they've got it's $365.
It's the cheapest in Europe.
And
I don't know, I
Leipzig,
think it might be cheaper in Lisbon.
that could be. I just found out that Leipzig, they have made moves to adopt Vienna's system.
I think it's the best system.
It's amazing.
That's how you get people to use public transport.
I used to hate public transport. You know me, I was the taxi guy.
Yeah.
There was never, Jim, public transportation? No, no.
Yeah.
I have a Jahreskarte. You know, I love it. I think it's so worth it.
It's eco-friendly too. Okay,
Yes.
so we need to move on.
We do need to move on.
We're going to move on.
But let's leave it at Andrew. Hey, Mr. Perkins is in the house. I never went black, but I always loved yelling "what" as loud as I could in English at them. Makes them nervous when the 6'4" large person does that. Yeah. Andrew, what?
Yeah, I got a ticket. I just wanted you to say that again.
Yeah, I think it was with Andrew. He and I did that. We would, if we had a ticket, you know, we would take a long time with them in the thinking, if anybody is riding black, that if they take a long time with us, that they have a chance to get away.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like blinking your lights when you know a cop has got a speed trap or something.
Yeah.
I think we should all be doing that. We should all be looking out for each other that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
there we go.
I think there is definitely something to that.
That was chapter 1. And now we're going to move on to chapter 2.
Yay!
I'm turning 40. Puff, puff, puff.
So, Jim,
Yes.
are you 40 yet? Are you over 40? Have you turned 40 yet? When are you turning 40?
I haven't decided. I haven't decided when I'm going to turn 40. Let's say we're going to talk about turning 40 and what that's like. And we're going to talk about that.
So, actually, I want to turn this over to the chat.
But let's talk to the chat for a second.
So,
I agree.
Like, there are two sides to the story. There are
Two
before
sides.
you're 40 and after you're 40.
So
I think, what were your expectations?
let's do it this way.
What were your expectations before you turned 40 of what it was going to be like when you turned 40?
If you are not yet 40,
Yeah.
what are your expectations for turning 40? What are you looking forward to?
What are you
What are you
expecting?
fearing? What are
Yeah.
you expecting? If you have already turned 40, how did the reality line up with your previous expectations?
Yeah.
That's the questions. If you're younger than 40, what are you looking forward to? If you have already turned 40, how did the reality,
Yeah. Looking forward to or fearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
how did the reality match up with what actually happened? So, Michael, let's say we have both turned 40.
Are we going with that?
Let's go with that.
Yes, okay, good. Let's say we've both turned 40.
Let's say we have both turned 40.
What were your expectations of turning 40?
I'm
I'm going to do this.
I have a very distinct memory of sitting in a class, it must be in high school, trying to, like writing down, like figuring out how old I would be at certain times, in the future. Like, what year will it be when I turn?
Oh, okay. So you're born in one of those weird years. See, I'm born in 1970. It's really easy to know how old I'm going to be at any time.
Right.
But I understand. If I was born in 1977 like you, there's a lot more math involved.
Math is hard. So, And so I was trying to figure out, and then thinking, okay, what is life going to be like when you turn 40?
Yeah.
And I remember at that time, it was inconceivable. I remember.
But how old were you?
Like I said, I must have been in high school.
Okay,
This is the memory of I was in high school doing this.
I
and
could not even imagine turning 30.
Yeah, I mean, for me at that time,
Yeah.
I couldn't really think of it. But I do remember having expectations of, at one point, somebody said to me, one of those old wisdoms, that in your 20s, you figure out what it is that you want to do with your life. In your 30s, you learn how to actually do that. You get good at that.
Yeah.
And then in your 40s, you start to make money at it.
Yeah. Okay. So was that true for you?
In a lot of ways, yes.
Yeah. That's kind of the way it was for me as well.
In a lot of ways, yes.
I think the first time I ever started earning money that I thought was impressive was after I turned 40. Like there was rarely something where I'd be going, oh wow, you're going to pay me that much to do that? Wow, that's nice money.
Yeah.
Only post 40.
Yeah.
So basically, my expectations of 40 are actually way better than what I imagined them. Like this comparison that you've mentioned now is something that I've heard since.
Yeah.
I always imagined 40 like somehow being old somehow.
40 was for me always old. Now, I've spoken to you about my buddy from childhood, Joey Joyner. I've mentioned Joey Joyner.
It's difficult to remember. It's difficult to forget somebody who has a name like Joey Joyner.
And
what was his mom's name?
Well,
Joyce Joyner.
No.
Jenna Joyner.
Just let me tell you. I'll remind you. Joey Joyner, his brother Jeff Joyner, his sister Jamie
You can't
Joyner.
say this while I'm trying to swallow. I'm gonna suffocate.
His sister Jamie Joyner, dad Gene Joyner, and mom Cheryl.
That's terrible. That's been your worst joke.
It's
all
not
evening.
a joke. This is all the truth. And I remember as a kid when Gene Joyner, the dad, he turned 40. And there was a big thing made about this. It was a huge party.
Yeah.
As kids, we were all invited, and there was decorations, and all of the decorations were like over the hill, and life is over. It's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
40 is the death knell. And as a kid, I took it at face value. As I got older, I realized, okay,
It's like life begins at 40.
That
like
it's all
lots,
tongue in
lots of life begins at 40.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I realized that it's all tongue in cheek, but
I think there was a time where a lot of that was truer than it is now.
I agree wholeheartedly, because what I'm talking about is, in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
And that long ago, it was different. If you were a 25-year-old man, if you were a 35-year-old man, and you weren't, at some point in the company,
Yeah.
your half your life is gone. Midlife crisis at 40, was a big thing. Now, I think midlife crises for men, they often say it's between 40 and 50, right? Is that where you would think the midlife crisis?
I think I had my first midlife crisis at 28.
Right. Okay. I don't mean personally. I'm talking about generally.
Yeah, but I think it is before 40. I think it's like between 35 and 45.
Right. I don't know about that. I think I would say classically, the midlife crisis comes around 40, and the range would be from 40 to 50. I don't think it would be before then. Okay. But I think it has to do with that. It's all downhill from here. It's the midpoint, more or less.
You get to your midpoint and you think, what have I achieved?
Yeah.
Have I fucked enough women? Have I driven enough fast cars? Have I made enough money?
Yeah.
And to all of those, you probably have to say no.
Now,
it messes with your ego.
If I had if it is true that I have been 40 at some point in my life, one thing that would have been a weird reality check to what my expectation would be, because I'm thinking when you're 40, you're old.
Yeah.
I was in some of the best shape of my life when I turned 40. I was in the middle of a I would imagine that would be true if I had turned 40 at some point in my life.
Well, I didn't. I remember my mom's 40th birthday. Like, it was also one of those big things, and everybody came around and stuff like that. I never actually thought of her as being old when she was 40. But definitely, let's say, more adult than I felt when I turned 40. And I definitely did not feel like 40 when I turned 40. But I think that also has a lot to do with the kind of business that we're in, where you, as an actor, there's a part of you that never actually reaches adulthood.
Never. Absolutely. And this kind of folds in with what we were talking about. Yeah.
You kind of stay a kid for a very long time if you're
Absolutely.
an actor, right?
Absolutely.
Not all actors, actually. There are some actors who do that thing, and then they're like adults, right? They get jobs in TV series, and they're all serious.
I suppose, but
there's some people like that.
There's different. Yeah, I know what you mean, but I think in every performer there is some sort of childlike thing, and there is some point where you realize you're an adult, or where you never become an adult, or like I remember Gail had this wonderful story about she had just graduated college. She's working at La Mama in New York, and she's visiting with her friend Jean, and they go to a soda fountain. It's the late 60s, and they get a sundae, malted at the counter. And then Gail said, and I looked over, and Jean ordered a second sundae. And at that moment, I realized, I can order a second sundae if I want.
Fuck it.
I'm an adult. I can do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And those clarifying moments are so amazing.
It's those things you realize when you move out of your home, like the home you grew up in, and your mom is no longer responsible for your diet.
Right.
And you realize, I can eat anything I want. I can eat sausages every day, all day. That's why I can eat sausages.
That's how I know meal, I'm a grown-up. I'm adulting.
But that's like the least adult thing to do.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's like a really childlike thing to do as an adult. But okay, so for somebody, go ahead.
I was going to say, I like this. There's something like a quarter-life crisis. Thank you, Marcus, actually, for bringing that up, because that sorted me. So I've been through a quarter-life crisis and a third-life crisis, and I have not hit a midlife crisis yet.
I like Jacob's take. You can have a midlife crisis anytime and then simply double your age to predict your death. When was your midlife crisis?
I haven't had one yet.
Oh!
I was thinking exactly the same thing. So I haven't had a midlife crisis yet, so I haven't reached the middle of my life.
Well, there you go.
Aha!
I'm wondering, though, I would say to you that women in general, like if men in general have their midlife crisis around 40, I would say women have their midlife crisis around 30. Because men get a little squirrely at 40, and I think women get 30? They get squirrely around 30.
Could be.
That's been my experience.
Yeah, I think for a lot of women, turning 30 is being. There's that nimbus of no longer sexually attractive that lots of TV and advertising sells us.
Yeah.
And for men, it's like, no, you just keep getting better.
Well, up to a point.
Up to a point,
and then traditionally it's been 40, and I think you're right that used to be like that, and now it's slowly changing. But at some point, that's when the paunch comes, and you don't look, your body is changing and all that stuff. And I would like to think that hasn't quite hit for me yet. I mean, it does. We talked about it, the aging stuff. But there's that difference, and maybe it's because
the ladies love the gray hair.
Oh, they do. They love the gray hair. But it's about can you carry it? And I think it has to do with the fact that we are in the profession that we are, because I'm constantly lying about my age. We have our playing age. We have the things, because we improvise. We are people who are curious, and we're constantly looking at things and going to museums. And I think that keeps it that way. Traditionally, once you got to 40, you weren't so far along until you were ready for retirement. And so you were totally on that downward thing. You were ready to coast. And we can't do that anymore.
I'm not actually sure that applies so much to artists exclusively. Yes, I think it does.
I don't know as I said it
to artists quite a lot. But I think that that society has shifted a lot in general, so that people remain interested in things way past the time where they kind of used to get into that rut.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, the ruts no longer exist. Lots of people have embraced that we're going to learn for the rest of our lives, that we're going to continue to develop for the rest of our lives.
That's
never
true.
reach that kind of the finished product stage.
And people never said 40 is the new 30 back in the 70s.
No.
I don't think.
No.
Is there anybody
and
who
50
was
is the new
alive?
30 is what I've been hearing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with the boomers. And that agingness and
people live longer, they're in better shape, they're feeling like,
absolutely. And that thing we talked about looking in the mirror and wondering, okay, who's this older person?
Who's this person? Yeah.
And
or looking in the mirror and thinking, so who's this person? And this person doesn't look 50 to me.
Now, I've heard people say, once you get to a certain age, you shouldn't do certain things. That is no longer appropriate.
Like run down the street naked, high on cocaine, shouting, "Don't judge me!" I think you never grow out of that. I think you can do that at any age. In fact, I think it gets cooler the older you are.
I'll be right back.
You brought cocaine to my place of work. Philly girl.
Okay, so
you had all the cocaine on the way to work. You came here naked.
So
turning 40 does not mean you have to grow up.
That's right. But this is what I'm getting at. Right? So I've had people say that once you turn a certain age, that you shouldn't be doing that. So like I've heard people say, if you're over 30 as a woman, you shouldn't wear something that's belly free. Things like that.
Rubbish.
Of course it is. Of course it is. So
that is total rubbish. You should do anything you feel like, and fuck the neighbors.
Agreed.
Make them watch.
Well, that's going to be Naked Neighbors Part 2. Making the neighbors watch.
Yeah, what can you force your neighbors to do? How far can you go?
But was there anything that happened after 40 that you no longer felt comfortable, or was there any sort of change for you in your 40s besides starting to make money at the thing that you finally learned how to do? Like, did you find yourself wearing more hats? Like I'm always waiting.
No, I found myself being able to afford hats.
To afford hats. Yeah, well, there you go. As a woman wearing short skirts, see, people say once you get over 30, and I think it's bullshit. I think it's totally bullshit.
That is total bullshit, and that's why, when you see a woman who is 45, and in shape and wearing a short skirt, you're like. That's why there's that MILF attraction, because so many women decide that they're too old to be sexy, and actually it's the other way around. There's lots of young women who are not in good enough shape.
To be sexy.
To
Okay,
be
so
carrying
secretly, I believe that is in fact what it is. Secretly, I think that there are, and I've seen this in my friends, where she will see someone else who is either older or younger, but cannot carry off the outfit that they are trying to carry off.
Yeah.
And then she would look at this person and think, okay, they're older, they shouldn't be doing this. I don't want to be looked at the way I am looking at this person.
Yes.
And so I am not going to do what this person does for fear of being judged the way I am judging this person. Although perhaps that person would never look like the way that person looks, even in the same outfit.
But maybe this is, I don't know, maybe this is sticky fly paper we're walking on here.
Oh, I know.
Right? Because
I
think
because we're making big generalizations about a gender, and this is just my own personal observation.
I share your opinion to a great extent, because I think there is definitely something wrong with how media and society portray to women how they should be. And I think this has given lots of women end up putting themselves in a category where they don't belong.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And it's really terribly detrimental. You know, we're talking to women who are in shape and who can pull off wearing the short skirt, not wearing the short skirt, because they think their own perception of their body is not actually what it is. They perceive themselves to be, like somebody who shouldn't be wearing that short skirt, right? It's a slippery slope, this whole discussion, right? But maybe there's a respectful way to make a topic out of it. I don't know. I'm going to make a note of it.
Sure. No, smoke them if you got them. I think that's the whole point. And there's something about the idea of the freedom that you get, and often it's 40.
Yeah.
Where you can kind of let go of those things and just do what you want to do. There's this wonderful, I think I've mentioned them to you before, Baroness von Sketch, as these women who do this wonderful comedy from Canada. And there's this great sketch, Baroness von Sketch show, and check out the one Turning 40, and it's about this woman who goes to the gym and on her 40th birthday.
We've spoken about this exactly.
And it's very
about
funny.
This thing,
Yeah, it's very funny.
Verena says, the worst for me was when people started addressing me with Z.
Yeah.
And yeah, that creeped me out for a long time as well, and I've just decided to go with it. That's the way young people see me, and I'm totally okay with it now. Right? Some of them I'll just let them continue to zits me, and some of them I'll say, look, my name is Michael, just call me Michael and that's fine, right?
Yeah.
And if they can't get used to it, then I try and remind them of it, and otherwise I'm just like, fine. Like my students, some of them are, on first name basis with me, and some of them want to call me Mr. Smolik the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And they just can't get that out of their system, and it's okay, it doesn't bug me anymore. Like it doesn't make me feel old anymore, because I think I've also accepted and realized that I'm not as young and dumb as them. Jung and dumb, right? I definitely do not feel like I'm 22 or 25 or 18 anymore, and God knows I do not want to go back there. Like anything, actually, if I could go back to an age, I'd go back to anything, but I wouldn't go younger than 40.
I hear you. Part of my deal about always being ambiguous about my age was also because it was always I don't ask, don't tell sort of a thing, because age often gets used to put people into boxes, like this idea of once you get to a certain age, you can't do certain things. Yeah. What was that old SNL sketch about the last fuckable year, for actresses? So
yeah, and it's somewhere around 30, right? So with this whole thing starts for women.
So for me, it's also about, so sort of like engaging people as they are. When I was younger, I always looked much younger than I was, and it was difficult for people to give me authority. And so by being ambiguous about my age, I could try to gain a little bit more status that way. But also because people would always ask you in an attempt to be able to categorize you.
So kind of gauge where they are and where you are.
Exactly.
Right?
It was always a compare and contrast. So if you say you're this old, then you see it in their eyes. It flashes through. They have to have been, they should have achieved this. They shouldn't have achieved this. This is, and that always bugged me.
It's like, who's the boss in the room?
It drove me crazy.
Yeah.
And so I tried to get rid of that when I would meet people. But then those discrepancies would come where I would be treating somebody as an equal, and they would be treating me as a Z, or the other way around. Yeah. And it's always a funny thing. And then for me, as I got older, I think I'm still dealing with it. The thing
I don't think it ever stops.
That I saw in you is how when there's certain things that we can get away with at certain ages that you can't get away with at other ages. Like if you're a teenager, you can kind of wear a hat. If you're an old man, you can wear a hat. Right. But in between, if you wear a hat, you look like a pillock. Like that.
So my penchant for hats is what you're
no, I'm just using it as an example. Or you can play the character of you can only be the hot dancer, between the ages of this and this. Right. And then you can't do that anymore.
Then you have to really be able to dance.
You age out of certain things.
Aoife Kin 1, you're here for the first time. Nice to have you here.
Aoife Kin 1.
And thank you for joining the chat and wearing glasses. This is the bane of my life.
Okay, but hold on a second, because I don't know if Aoife Kin is looking forward to turning 40 and having to wear glasses.
No. This is like I'm over 40 and I wear glasses. I know exactly what she means. Oh. It's having to wear glasses.
Because I still don't have to wear glasses.
You do.
What are you talking about?
No. There's been a couple of situations where I'm like, you can't read that, and you're like, I'm not talking about this note here.
He's definitely talking about that.
I put my reading glasses on him, and he was like, oh, I can actually read this better. So, but forget it. Yes, the thing with the glasses, I started needing reading glasses late 30s when I realized that I was having difficulty reading in bad light. And now it's got to the point where I need the reading glasses almost all the time if I want to read something in front of me. But now I also need other like driving glasses for seeing things far away. So it's like you take these ones off, you put these ones on. I've got the same problem that my mom has. Like there was times that she'd walk around with 2 different sets of glasses dangling off her throat.
And she'd ask you where they are. Where are my glasses?
And she's like, I can't see them, and it's terrible. I'm actually thinking about getting a laser operation so that I can do away with one set of those glasses that I need.
My grandma used to wear glasses around her neck that would rest on her boobies, and then she would eat cookies with her teeth, and the crumbs would fall down onto her glasses. And I used to call them her crumb catchers because she would have to then read some. She'd look down, see all the crumbs that had been caught by her crumb catchers, which were her glasses. She'd pick them up, and sometimes she would just kind of tip them onto her tray. Sometimes she would just kind of go, and then put her glasses on, get those crumbs.
Yeah.
Oh, Grandma.
Definitely get those crumbs. Follower of Clay. I've actually gotten into the tramway, and kids have offered me a seat. This has happened to me.
Michael, we've done it again. We've gone far too long, and I think we're going to have to...
No, we're done with this. We're right on time.
I think we're going to have to maybe get a part 2, but we're going to maybe tune it on getting older. We're going to have a chapter on getting
Oh,
weather.
Andrew's saying the laser worked well for Michelle. Yeah, I think I'm going to try it out. Shall we move on to...
I think we should.
To this?
We're going to just move. Hi, everybody, and we're back to the show.
I think it's cool. It's good. It's all good.
Okay.
We need to remember to do this. Yay!
So that was our commercial. And next week, just to let you all know, we are going to be back for episode number 41. We don't know exactly what we're going to be doing, but we would like to try something new. In the comments section of this video.
Yes. Like down there.
Like, yeah.
Down there.
Is it down there?
Yeah, it's down there.
Yeah, okay, that's what all the YouTubers do. And it's down there. And
not in the chat, which is which is there.
Which is over there?
I think it's on you.
I think it's over here.
It's on. I think it's on your side. It's on your side. It's on your side.
No, it's on your side.
So in the comment section of this,
if you have, if you'd like to let us know what you think a good chapter for us would be, what needs the Jim and Michael treatment? What should we talk about? What
like if you've had a really exceptional experience that you want to talk about, or you have a really good idea for a topic, write it down there, and we'll find a way of putting it in the mix.
It's going to happen in another show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And didn't we want to shout out somebody who gave us something in the PayPal jar recently?
No.
That we forgot to mention?
I don't think so. I don't think... Oh, Verena. I think Verena was it Verena last week?
I think so. I think we forgot somebody. I think it was Verena.
Everybody wave to Verena.
Verena, wave back to the screen. And thank you for hitting the PayPal jar. So it's on Michael's side. Thank you, Pavlov's dog. See?
It's on Michael's side.
Yeah.
Excellent. Pavlov's dog is so on it. On it.
So now we come to chapter 3.
Yeah.
So like
they can always hear us whispering.
Why do we do
Until you learn to code.
Hello!
That's what it's
and we're
gonna be
back.
like.
What the hell? Why did it all go black for a second? That was weird.
That was interesting. Because I tried to do something different on this one.
Oh, okay.
And it didn't work.
Nope. Well, we're back for chapter 3, and chapter 3 is on serendipity. Now, Michael, I know what serendipity means, but do you?
Serendipity is when unexpectedly something pleasant or happy happens.
Yeah, it's pretty
that
close.
can be anything.
Serendipity is, in fact, a word that describes a happy accident or an unexpected discovery. It's positively charged.
An unexpected discovery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't this discovery always kind of unexpected?
Well, you can be looking for something and expecting to discover it.
And then discover something completely
different. And then
different.
you discover something
serendipitous.
completely different, and that is serendipitous. That's right. And so it would be serendipity.
Yeah. You can fact check him on this. Actually, he might be making this up entirely. So if there's anybody out there who wants to look up what serendipity really means, right?
Serendipity
Look it up and copy it into
was first used by Horace Walpole sometime in the 1700s, I believe.
He's been on Wikipedia.
No, this is one of the. I love the word because serendipity is a beautiful word. Let's use a very simple definition. Serendipity is a happy accident, a happy coincidence, a fortuitous coincidence. Let's say it's a fortuitous coincidence. And I believe fortuitous coincidences have a huge influence on our lives and in our lives. So, our question to you is, what was a significant serendipitous moment in your life, or what was the last happy accident that you had?
The occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way.
Yep, that's a good one.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins.
I believe the word comes from serendip, which comes from Arabic or something that was the original name of Sri Lanka. something like that.
Which has been through a number of original names. It used to be called Ceylon for a while.
Ceylon, yeah.
Serendipity Doodah.
Serendipity Doodah. So,
Is that Mr. Bluebird's on my shoulder?
Zippity Doodah.
That's Zippity Doodah.
Zippity yay. We don't want to get copyright checked.
So, as a lover of serendipity,
Yes.
do you have a serendipitous story to tell us?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think my life changed completely with the serendipitous meeting of the English lovers.
Ah, did you meet
For
them all
example.
at the same time?
Yeah, basically.
Like I wasn't in that original group. I only joined the group like 2 years later.
That's right. There were several people that didn't become the English lovers, but that original group, that original meeting where we did the original reading on the 31st
Right.
of
and they were
October in
actually
1997.
There were actually people who were English lovers at that point who are no longer English lovers now.
Yeah, well, because back then there was no English lovers. Back then it was originally just a night called English for English lovers.
Yeah. But okay, so tell us how did the English lovers actually meet up? Or like, had you spoken to each other before this serendipitous meeting?
No, the serendipitous meeting was Barbara Spitz had called up a bunch of colleagues because the Drachengasse, either Eva or Hani, or it must have been Eva or Hani, had talked to Barbara and asked if she would do a reading. Mm-hmm. And so Barbara called up these folks to do a reading, and they all met at Andy Halvax's apartment in the 1st District. And I had gone over to Andy's on this.
Why Andy Halvax's?
Andy was a buddy, and
he had a big apartment.
And so Andy lived back then with Kati Albrecht, who is like the head of the Austrian Film Commission now.
Okay.
And they lived in this apartment. It was this like 200 square meter apartment in the 1st District on the Singerstrasse.
Right. Okay. Good.
And so the meeting was there. And I had gone over to Andy's house to use his printer. Because this is in 97.
So you didn't get the call? You were
No,
by chance?
No, I had just moved to Austria.
Okay.
But I knew Andy because he was in the same theater company with Valerie back in the day. And I had moved here to be with Valerie.
Right.
And so I go over to Andy's house to use his printer. And Barbara's there. Dennis is there, Gail was there, Kathy was there, Jessie Webb was there. There was this other young dancer woman whose name I'm blanking on. She was great.
Anyway, so all of this.
Anyway, they were all there,
and
that's where all that happened. And that was just
thing,
that serendipitous thing that they were having the meeting at Andy's house,
and you were there
I was
on
there
that day at that time.
And then Andy introduced us all, and then Barbara was like, "Well, why don't you come and read with us?" And I was like, "Don't mind if I do," and because I was like super fresh in town.
Yeah, that's actually a great example of a serendipitous, because that's shaped your career. And
It
your
completely
life
shaped
since
my
then,
life. Yeah, absolutely.
And it was kind of similar for me meeting the English lovers as well, because I was doing a show, and you guys came in to do a late night after my show.
Right.
And for years, I was working as an actor in German, thinking I'd love to work as an actor in English. And then this English crew came in and did the show, and I was like, I wanna
do what these guys are doing. Yeah.
And I introduced myself to Dennis, and Kathy was the chairman of the group back then.
Right.
And Dennis was, well, you have to talk to our chairman. He called Kathy up. He says, this young gentleman speaks fine English. He wants to join the group, right? And then Kathy and I chatted, and then I was in that reading of Beyond Therapy.
Beyond Therapy. I remember that.
Yeah, it was probably like 1998.
Must have been.
So Pavlov, Pavlov is, I think, if I had to choose my favorite Isbaz follower,
Yeah.
Pavlov's going to be in my top 3.
Wow. Michael Smolik already picking favorites.
Yeah, because Pavlov just has
Because
like,
he's over 40 and he don't give a fuck.
So, not only does Pavlov have a collection of guitars, but Pavlov is also a fan of Lego.
Yeah.
But how's this for serendipity, right? So, meeting someone and then figuring out they're a huge Lego fan.
But, okay, and
Like,
so...
you're looking for somebody for your life, right? But they have to like Lego too, you know?
I'm a huge
What are the
fan of
chances?
serendipity. I'm a huge fan of coincidence, not only because I think it shapes our lives, no, because it shapes our lives constantly,
Yeah.
but not only because it's a huge part of our work. So as improvisers, that's kind of what we've learned to do, is learn how to flow with coincidence. The coincidence...
Like the happy coincidence that makes the thing work.
Right, but I would say beyond the fact, what makes the coincidence happy, I think, is our attitude toward it. We build on the coincidence.
Yeah.
We try to exchange the coincidence for effectuality. We are recognizing and learning from and building upon that coincidence. And I think
So kind of influencing the next coincidence that's going to happen as well in some way.
well, what we're doing is we're infusing every coincidence with positivity, because as storytellers,
Making it look like it's not a coincidence.
making it look like it's not a coincidence. Exactly. We're routing and weaving and trying to surf.
Accepting the Schicksal like it was intentional.
And so when every time that coincidence happens, which prompts in the human brain a pattern, if we can meet it positively, then each of those coincidences could be felt as serendipitous.
Yes.
You know, all of a sudden we turned down this street and we saw this little cafe and decided to go in. It was in the deciding to go in that it became serendipitous, because we had the great time.
Yeah.
It was just a coincidence that there was something there when you turned left. And I think if we can remember that so much of the chaos around us becomes coincidence when we half recognize the patterns, or when we recognize the patterns, but they can become serendipitous if we keep a positive attitude about it. Not always. I mean, there's going to be some shitty shit happen. But I think we could sort of edit a lot of it out if we think of it as being serendipitous. And that's Jim's philosophical moment.
That's Uncle Jim's 2 cents on how to lead a happy life.
Let serendipity be your guide.
Marcus has a current dating situation that he considers serendipitous. So.
Dating situations are always serendipitous. You never date somebody where it's not a coincidence that you meet. You never date somebody where, it's where you can't see them.
Lots of dates are arranged.
Yes, that's not what I'm talking about, though. I mean, if dating situations, it's okay.
We've spoken about worse dates before. Like not every dating situation is serendipitous.
No. But I was moving on to the current.
But I don't know what his current.
coincidental-
I don't know what his current
coincidence
dating
of it.
situation is. I'm hoping he walked into the grocery store and he met someone.
I just coincidentally swiped right.
That's not the same thing.
I know, that's what makes it a joke.
I'm going to pull your hat and make it snap back onto your head.
I'm going to make it go like this right now. What was a serendipitous moment in your life?
Well, I have to say serendipitous was probably when I met my wife the second time.
Yeah. And
I'd been introduced to her, like she was having trouble.
We've talked about this. We've told this story before.
I think we told this story before. So.
And the reason I asked you is a little bit of a trap, because it was in fact coincidental, but we set it up because of that whole romantic comedy pattern, right? Of meeting the person for the first time, you don't necessarily get together, but then you meet somebody for the second time, and then, oh my goodness. Because then if you two had met, but hadn't met before, there would have been no coincidence.
Of course not.
Exactly.
That was obvious from the start. I don't know what you're talking about.
You often don't.
This is true. This is the other bane of my life. Half the time I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. So Pavlov has a big smile. Have we lost the chat? Or is there just nothing else to say about serendipity?
I think there might not be anything left to say about serendipity.
Oh, are we still online?
Oh, I think we're still online, but I think...
Yeah, it says we're still online.
So. Oh, good. Well, in any case, I think that was a very serendipitous thing. Yes, meeting your wife was a great serendipity. I think there's so many of those things because we think of them backwards, right? We look back and we imbue upon the interaction as having been serendipitous.
Yes, of course. With hindsight, you can imbue more serendipity into things.
Right. Yes. But I think if we can, bring that hindsight into the moment in a way, then...
So thinking of when you meet someone, thinking in that moment, oh, it's a good thing that I've met this person.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But that would freak people out as well. So imagine you meet someone, okay, and they're like, oh, give me your hand. Really good to meet you. This is going to be excellent.
Yeah, okay, you don't have to do it with the weird creepy eyes and the voice like that, but... Yeah, I know what you mean.
No, I think there's a lot to be said for meeting people that way.
Yeah. Well, lately I've been like that because, it used to be that that humans would only see about 70 to 80 people their entire lives, right? You would live in a small town or, in when we were hunter-gatherers.
Historically, right?
Historically. And now in our modern age, we see more people in the auditorium of play than those people would do in their entire lifetime.
Right.
And now with the pandemic, because I'm spending so much time at home, getting out so little, I've stopped seeing people. And I've found myself recently, every time I see somebody on the street that I know, getting very, very, very excited to see them. And part of me wants to just run up and hug them. Part of me wants to just jump up and down because I get filled with joy that this person is still alive, this person who I've forgotten about, this universe inside a body that I'm suddenly reminded exists, and I am so glad to see them again. And that, coupled with, it's a pandemic, don't get all creepy and get all crazy on them because they might not be very excited to see you, which is also the case sometimes.
Yes, we've spoken about this at length, actually. Meeting people on the street.
And
who pretend not to know you.
And I just think it's really nice right now to rediscover that joy that we have in people, that I have in people.
Yeah.
And each one of those meetings becomes a little serendipitous for me.
Yeah. So Jim is a Labrador in a human costume. Yes. Why don't I actually understand why it's taken you so long to describe him so well, Andrew? Thank you for that. So living next door to someone who runs a gay film festival in Hamburg has got to be serendipitous. Like, I think if you could choose your neighbors, wouldn't you want them to be the guys who run the gay film festival in Hamburg?
Well, you missed the first part. Jacob stayed with a Canadian friend in Berlin. He was there to work on his next big gay film. Yeah. And I struck up a conversation with his neighbor. Turns out the neighbor runs a gay film festival in Hamburg, got my friend a gig. I was around. I was actually around for that story because his friend kissed me on that night. Yes.
And we're out.
Okay. Serendipity is all around us. I think we should all hang on to it with both hands. And every time we get a chance to turn some coincidence into a happy coincidence, then I think we should.
A happy happenstance.
A happy happenstance. Michael, we've gone too long. We're going to cut this down now.
Yeah, we're done.
We are so done.
Yeah.
But next week we're coming back. We're going to be 41. Episode 41.
We didn't talk at all about the show.
Oh, that we've turned 40, that we've been doing this every single week for 40
we've
times,
been doing
and it's
this
amazing.
every fucking week since last year.
And in 12 more weeks, we're going to be 1 year old. We'll be 52 weeks long. It's crazy.
It's crazy. I never thought when I suggested that we try something like this, that it would become something so regular and so enjoyable and so, like that the ball would just keep rolling. It's interesting.
It's been really great. And we are super, super glad that you guys always come to join us. And let's do it really fast.
Lots of the people on the chat tonight have been here since show number 1. So,
And it's the chat. I mean,
and also those who came for the first time, like here we are, Aoife Kinwan.
Aoife Kinwan. So let's do it. Let's do the shout out really quick. Come on.
Okay, so Marcus.
You do it. Andrew,
Marcus,
Jacob,
Moko,
Pavlov's dog.
Verena.
Wait. Moko. No.
Verena. Follower of Clay. Aoife Kin. Christina.
Machado. Marcos. Philly girl. Kathy. Jacob. Okay.
We're going to have a hug. I think this has been the best 40th birthday Isbaz so far.
This has been the best Isbaz ever.
Dang. Well, there you are.
I'm putting a stamp on it.
Okay, cool. Good.
Best Isbaz ever. Thank you all very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, and everybody in between. We will see you next week. Michael? Thank you.